Fala galera, today I'm going to make my deck profile in English, like I told you in the previous video. I will be talking um, why I choose to play this and some of the interactions that sometimes you don't get like to understand just by looking at the deck list. And the reason that I choose this deck, which I believe is probably not the best deck in the format, but is not super behind the best decks. The best decks, in my opinion, are Dragon Link and Dino, um, and I think this is a close third deck. I think they are better, but they are not too far behind. And I do believe that in the right metagame, depending on the how you feel about the metagame in your specific tournament is going to be, this is might be a better a best choice, um, because it has the power, it has the consistency to carry you, and it really depends on the matchups that you play against. Um, so first thing, I really want to play Synchro Eldlich again after Jet and Olion got banned, and I really try a lot of things. Like I've been working this for like 2 months, and I change a lot of cards, put cards, take out cards until I came up with this. Um, I realized that the Eldlich cards are important and bad at the same time. Like I like the fact that my deck contain Eldlich cards, and I say contain because uh, it's not every matchup that I want Eldlich card, but there are some matchups where Eldlich cards are really good. Against all Dogma decks, Eldlich cards are insane. Um, it's almost like Eldlich is a hard counter to every deck that has Dogma. You can be like losing to Dogma, like they are using traps on you and summon Fleur or whatever, but like you have one Sanguine and you grind them. Like it's really funny how Eldlich is really resilient against whenever, whatever uh, Dogma decks are doing. Usually Dogma decks are invoked now. Uh, so I really like the fact that Eldlich really helped on that matchup, which was a matchup in this tournament which I felt like was on a rise since it won the previous LCS. So yeah, that was one of the good things. I also believe that Eldritch cards are good against Dino cards in general. Like I put in more a general way to say. Even though my results against Dino in this tournament wasn't really good, I still do believe that the Eldritch engine is not bad against uh, Dino engine. Like Conquistador is really good. If you have pair with Sanguine and you can chain one to another, and you can kill a conductor, for example, it's immune to Dalka, which is usually what they do when they go blind. Vaqueiro is really good going first, like anything that interacts with miscellaneous engrave is really good, like Ash, Vaqueiro, Gamma, Crow. So you have a lot of ways to interact with miscellaneous, which is like by far the best card in that deck, like by far, and because of both effects. And yeah, I really enjoy Eldritch cards in that aspect against Dino 2. It didn't work this time, but I think it's good. I think it's still good. Like in my testing, I play against a lot of Dinos and I was positive against them. So yeah, that was really good. It's still about Eldritch, and I will just say right from the start. As you can see, I have 15 hand traps on my main deck, and I have 10 more in my sided because I have 3, 6, 10, right? So I have 12 cards here from Gamma to Crow, 12 cards. And my game plan against Combo going second, and this game plan really worked for me in testing and in the tournament. It was when I go second against Combo, I side out my entire Eldritch engine. That's why, for the ones who watch my games on the stream, I play against Jesse, Cotton, Cody, Angeloff, and Rafael Wright from Brazil. All of them playing Dragon Link, and I won all of them. And my post side games are really good against combo because of this. I have so many hand traps. I have 25 hand traps. More than half of my deck are hand traps going second, and it really do work because against those combo decks you really need to draw multiple hand traps, especially if you're playing like regular hand traps like this one, like Ash, Veiler, and Perms Ogre. So you had to draw multiples of them, and I still do play some impactful ones like Nibiru, Gamma, and Uka, right? So that was a really interesting way to approach this, and this idea of having a deck that I can play Eldlich but not all the time was the main core of the theory that made me build this deck around that idea. I really want to play Eldritch, not all the time. So I build the deck pretty much around that idea. And so first I need to have not so many Eldritch cards because I have to side out all of them. Um, so I end on 12, so I can side 12. And and I have to have something else in my deck that can play by itself, which was the Synchro engine and the Link engine, right? So Fusion, Contract, Quick Launch, and Divas. So I'm still super consistent going second because I have 6 cards and I have 12 stars. Like I mean more. This is I started to go in second, so 13 stars going second. 1 card combos. All of those cards make Dragoon by themselves. And Dragoon going second is completely obscene. This card is out of control. Um, it's not a super issue right now, but believe me, it will be. And I feel like this card needed a house, like something that you can play Dragoon and be competitive with. This is something that if you guys try it out, I think it's close to that, if not that. And I think the other option is Buster Blader, which is another good choice, especially now because it's good against Dino. So it starts to feel like Dragoon is founding its home, and when that happens, this will definitely be a problem, especially when, and not saying if, it's when those cards got hit like Fiber, Link Cross, or something, more cards around them, or LP, something on Dragon Link, something on Dino. When those type of hits start to appear in the ban list, which they will eventually, and Dragoon is not going to be hit, really likely not nothing related to Dragoon like Anaconda, uh, Dragoon, probably not Prejudice Fusion 2, it will become an issue. It will be the next issue, in my opinion, that we are going to start to complain more. Um, so yeah, my game plan against combo in second is like that, and that was really, really interesting, and I feel like it really worked really well, and yeah, it was one of the main reasons. This deck, what I like about this, in my opinion, it doesn't have any bad matchups, like bad matchups where, uh, like you can say, Dragon Link is a the other way around. Dino is a bad matchup for Dragon Link. You can say that Buster Blader, Dino is a bad match for Buster Blader. Uh, so with that in mind, I don't think this deck is super favored against anything besides maybe Invoke Dogma. I think this deck is really favored against Invoke Dogma. But the other matchups, I feel like it's really close or is slightly favored because I think post side this deck is really strong against almost everything, in my opinion. Um, I really like this post side theory of this deck in almost all the matchups. And my win rate, I have a lot of data on those, and my win rate going second and post side is really high. Not only post side, not only going second, but post side in general, going first or second, is better than game one. Game one is really hard to make it better now in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because yeah, many cards should be banned, but post side is where you have more room for make your deck better, and side is like a huge tool to make that. and this deck improves a lot both sides because you have exactly what you need and you have the space to do so, because my deck is a lot of one card do something really strong. Not as strong as other decks, but it's strong enough. Like Dragoon is, I can stress enough how insane this card is, and this card can easily carry you alone. Like the thing is, like Dragoon alone, almost all decks have outs, but it is really unlikely that Dragoon is alone in this deck, especially because you have so many other types of interaction that, like, you have Dragoon Ogre Impermanence, Dragoon Nibiru Ash, Dragoon Conquista do Velo, like some combinations of whatever, and it is really hard to break. It can happen, of course, it's not impossible, but uh, when you have like those type of interactions, it's really hard to kill the Dragoon, and Dragoon just can't live. Like, it's almost impossible to lose when Dragoon lives for one turn, because it's no ball really fast. Um, so yeah. So about ratios, right? So this is the main theory about this deck, which I feel like I had to say right on, from the start. Um, so I played only 12 Eldlich because of the reasons that I told about, that I said about the side deck game plan. So about the Synchro and Synchro and um, Link plays. Contract is by far the best one out of those options. Contract, it is Lamia, right, which can make Fiber with Linkarib, and this is low-key really strong, because if they negate Fiber with something like Ash, Impermanence Veil, or something like that, you can still make Dragoon, because Link Cross, and then you get a token into Linkarib and you make Anaconda. So that's really useful. This is by far the best one. One thing that I like about the starters of this deck, it is they are both starters and extenders. Like Contract is a starter and an extender, and also Quick Launch is a starter and an extender, or an extender, right? So it is good because if you draw multiple combinations of them, especially with Diva, like Diva Contract to Diva Quick Launch, you can easily punish negations on Diva, which happen a lot because Diva is a fucking magnet for negation, which is fair. Um, so yeah, those cards punish really well, and if they don't draw them combined, they work by themselves, which also really useful. I also play 3 Red Dot Fusion in this deck. I think this deck has to have at minimum 2 Red Dot Fusion, because I do Chaos Ruler a lot, and if I Chaos Ruler and mill 1 Red Dot Fusion and play only 1, I can make Anaconda after, so you have to have at least 2. But I did put 3 because I don't think it's bad to hard draw this card. Ash is not really played right now. Uh, it's getting more popular now, not gonna lie, but going to this event, it wasn't. And this deck also gets a lot better because people were playing like draw main, shit like that, and this deck's pretty much immune to that. So Ash is not really popular, so your fusion almost always resolve and have this Dragoon plus 2 interactions. You still have 4 cards. So out of those 4 cards in your hand, if 2 are interactions, it's almost always enough. I usually try historically to have decks that don't uh, do super crazy dumb shit like, let's say, Infernoble, which is completely FTK if you resolve your combo. You see your opponent's hand. It's almost impossible to lose. But there's a cost. Like, you almost can't play hand trap, so you coin flip against every single combo, which sucks in my opinion. I don't like that scenario much. It's an option that you can bring to events. I don't like that option. So having extra 4 cards in your hand uh, is usually enough, because if half of them, sometimes it's more, but let's say half of them is interactions, like Dragoon, Ash Veiler, it's usually enough to stop almost everything, besides like really broken hands, which can happen again. But most of the time, a huge chunk in my opinion, it will be enough. So yeah, I put Red Fusion to 3 because of that. Another card that I really like is Quick Launch. It was the last edition. It was the fact that I play more than 40, I always prefer playing 40 cards, but adding this card was impossible to play 40 cards. There's no way you add 2 bricks to your deck. Those two, which is something that I really try to avoid playing bricks. So yeah, and deck is more consistent than before because I have more starters than my previous version, which I run 40 cards, but not this. And this card really overperformed. Like, I knew it was going to be good, but it was way better. Like, it saved me multiple times. It was really, really strong. Even though my Chaos Rulers in this event they weren't really strong. Like, my mills were really bad this event. And they are on average really good. I have many things to either find, like hand traps, or mill. I have so many cards, and I mill 5 cards. But I got really unlucky. You guys will see on my replays. I made a analyzing video of my game with Jesse already. If you guys didn't check it out, you can go. It's already up, and I will do all my top cut matches as well. So yeah, some of those matches has Chaos Ruler being really bad for me, but again, doesn't matter. Like he is good. Like it's not like because he was bad that he is bad. So yeah, this card was really overperformed for me, and yeah, he's Chaos Ruler at minimum. Sometimes he's an Anaconda if you want. Going second is a fiber play because if they have 2 or more monsters. Still really strong, really good. I really enjoy playing this card. And the last card is Diva. I think it's the one that people were more curious about. I think Diva, it was the best one. Diva is the weakest one out of those, but it's necessary because of some aspect, like consistency issue. Like you have to have some amount of starters, and Div is the worst one of those because it doesn't make Link carryable. When you try to play, it get hit by more hand traps than the other cards. So yeah, it's a little bit worse, but there are some upsides. There is a lot of one card needle fibers in the game, a lot of them. But Div is the only one that doesn't need a brick that I found. Doesn't need a brick, and also is a level 2, which is relevant because I need to bring a level 2 monster from my fiber to make my Herald Dragoon play. I could have played Plague, but Plague has a huge issue in this deck because it is a brick if you draw it. And I even tried to play Plague in this list, and I gave up because I couldn't add another brick on top of the ones that I already have. And Diva is a starter and something that I can bring off fiber. Post side I do have Gamma too, but game 1 I usually go Diva, bring Diva, go fiber, bring the third Diva. It's really unlikely that you draw 2 Divas. So yeah, that was really important too. There is other niche scenarios where, for example, you can if you Ulka bring Barrier Statue, you can do summon Diva, bring another Diva, and make fiber. It's really funny when that happens. And Diva is the card that needs support usually because it is super negated type of card. So usually you punish people by Diva, they negate, and you have Contract or Quick Launch, and then you have your punish. But it's the weakest link of this deck. Still think necessary, but yeah, it is. Hand traps wise, like I really like Ash. It has interactions with Sanguine. I prefer playing more all around better hand traps because it's game 1 and I didn't like playing more risky cards like Gamma in the main, for example. Especially in this deck, since I pass on Dragoon only a lot, I need cards that can be used in that scenario. I can afford to have another brick and Gamma card that I can use on that instance. So I need cards that I can use when I go first too. So those are the best ones. Also, Nibiru, Veil, and Ogre can be found by Chaos Ruler, which happens a lot. You move 5 cards, so it's likely to fight something. And another nice interaction. Ogre, another card that overperformed this event was I was even like happy about it. Was really really good. And so I have and I had to have a good chunk of hand traps game one to have a chance to win going second against pretty much everything. You need hand traps in my opinion, and I do need a good chunk of hand traps in game one for me to post side have this obscene of 25 hand trap post side, which is more than half of my deck, and I really feel like it's the win condition of this deck drawing multiple hand traps. I have 88% of drawing 2 hand traps, which is probably one of the highest hates of drawing 2 multiple hand traps in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't even remember a deck that played that many hand traps, and like it was a deck that kind of worked right at the same time. So yeah, this says a lot about the format, by the way, but what can you do? So yeah, this is the main deck. There's some neat interactions. For example, Recharger can reborn a Dragoon that dies, so that's cool. It can you can get that via quick launch or trace or whatever. So yeah, that's really cool interaction. What else? Okay, let's go for the side deck. So Gamma is pretty much mandatory. I really like Gamma, but like only when I know I'm going second. So this is where I put Gamma. I always put Gamma when I go second, pretty much against every deck. Uka was really good too. It has really niche interactions in this deck besides the obvious. You bring Barrier Statue after Needle Fiber. You can it can act as an extender when you go first. Not when you go first. I don't say this when I go first, but like let's say in the mid game where I drew this card mid game, I can summon this randomly every time I bring something from my deck, and I can bring something from my deck with Fiber and Quick Launch, and both of those scenarios happen in my tournament. And this acts as an extender because it can summon itself, and also depending on the opponent's have, you can also special summon another monster, and it's not that difficult to summon something because this card has 4 attribute targets. It has water, of course. It has earth because it can bring itself, I think, right? Yeah, you can. You can bring itself if your opponent has an earth. You can bring a light because Veiler is 0/0, so you can bring a light if your opponent has a light monster, and you can bring a dark because Crow hits. So in this tournament, I brought this, I brought Veiler, and I brought Crow. And both times that I brought Veiler and Crow, it was I was the one. It was in my turn, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So both times it matter a lot. The bodies in this deck, the bodies of the monsters are really really important. They don't need to have like effects. Like just being there, being something, being a card on the board is important because it's half of an account, it's half of needle fiber, it's half of something really strong, right? Being level 7 is also interesting because you can, in that happened in my game, I summon Nuka, bring Veiler, and make Kills Ruler, also a neat interaction. So yeah, this card has a lot of things going on for it, and also a hand trap, so I like it. Phantasme, one of the last hand traps that I add. This deck has good interactions too. It's almost always a defense. Like I know Phantasme is not an actual defense, but it's really unlikely that Phantasme is not going to be a defense because it almost always enter only when I have 25 hand traps in my deck, and it can draw Nibiru, Ash, Veiler, Ogre, Uka, and Crow. So usually do Phantasme for 2 draws, right? It's really difficult that you don't draw any of those like billion cards here. So this is like 12, 15, 17 cards that you can draw of 2 draws. So really unlikely that you don't. So it's almost always defense, but you get the fact that you make your hand better overall. Like you can draw, let's say, an ogre and an extender and shuffle a brick. And this is really underrated, in general, it's something on the board. Like I can stress how important cards being cards in the deck are. Even bricks in this deck are better than they usually are in other type of decks because cards being cards in here, they are half of some broken link, or they are half, not half, but they are can be discard outlet because you always have to discard something for Dragoon. But so if getting extra cards, even though they're dead, doesn't matter. Like they will be a discard for Dragoon or a discard for Lord or a send from the field for Lord Summon. So cards being cards are really important. These also, especially against what's the name, Dragon Link, it battle phase forces seal, which is usually what they do when you hand trap them. Best case scenario for them, if they don't full combo you, they end on seal savage. This is the most common field after some hand traps, and having this something on the board like Phantasme or Nibiru, uh, and just go battle phase attack, and they have to bounce. It's really good because you take out of track, still have Phantasme, again, a card that can be used and discarded and whatever. So you retain the card, and you can try to play to find the Dragoon main phase 2, which is not that difficult, especially against only one Savage in that scenario. Sometimes it's only Seal, and then you can 100% make Dragoon. And if they bounce Phantasme, for example, you can summon Phantasme again and potentially and likely find another hand trap, so you stop them again. Yeah. One thing that I think I have to talk about is the lack of draw and lengths of cards like that, which are really common. I feel like this deck against Dragon Link and Infernoble, you have to make them commit extra deck monsters. You can't just like they go search and draw and they pass. This is not a good scenario for you. You have to stop them while they try to play. It's really important that they use the Romulus and the Fiber. Like they go first and try to play Romulus in a gate and go Fiber in a gate and they break. Something like that. Or you go Fiber and they go Romulus, Fiber, and they do something but not something really ridiculous, so they don't have many extra deck cards for them to play on the other turn. So if you just draw a lane and they just pass, you're not you're not OTK oriented. So it's not like you're going to kill them and they have everything at their disposal after, and that's not really good for this. You have to make them waste resources, and the best resources in Dragon Link is the Link part. The deck is way more Link than Dragon. If you think about Dragon Link deck, is a bunch of cards and starters that has the goal to reach extra deck monsters. So counting extra deck monsters, looking for which cards are gone and which cards are left, are part of win conditioning of the win condition of this deck. So yeah, Crow is a card that I am siding against combo, which is not usual at all. It's not like I'm crazy about Crow against combo. This is more a concession because I wanted to have something specific against Dino, but I still need to have 12 hand traps to side against combo insect. So I have to put something that I can put against both. And Crow was the best one that I found, and that do everything that I already said. Okay, I could have side lengths or draw, for example, but it would have fall on the previous argument that I made. So Crow is not like a single good card against combo, but Crow plus something, it's enough. For example, usually Crow plus Nibiru makes Nibiru live. When I say by live, it's like Crow means you're not getting Herald almost all the time. So it worked. If you think about it, Crow almost always kills the Herald, which is enough. Like if I draw Crow and Nibiru or Crow and Gizmek, which are the most impactful hand traps, let's say, it worked like a Veiler or Impermanence, which is enough. Pretty much the first hand trap is preventing Herald from preventing Nibiru. So this is how I see Crow. And it has another niche scenario like World Legacy White Dragon. It's really crazy when you hit that. Brotar, I know it's not insane. I would rather had something else, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Is about concessions, and I have to concession on the own on end to make it better on the other end. So I feel like it was good enough. It is the worst one here, but good enough and make my Dino matchup way better. Having Crow is really important in that matchup. And even though I didn't draw Crow against Dino in this event, but it is better to have it. And I did draw it against Combo. It was good. I banished a Brotar one of the times it was important. And I brought it from Gizmac once too, from Ruka. So yeah, that's the reasoning of Crow. I side that. It's not completely bad. I know it's weird, but it's not completely bad against what's the name of the deck? Invoked Dogma, because and Booster Blader against Invoked Dogma it's fine-ish, I know, but against Booster Blader, which was another deck that I felt like was on the rise because a good counter against Dino, which was for sure on the rise. So I thought some people will try to counter the because Dino was the counter for this event. So I thought many people would realize that and play Booster to counter the counter. So um, Crow is also good against both, right? Two decks on the rise, Dino and Booster, and this is really good against Booster. Almost always prevent the lock, the Booster lock, the fusion. I don't know the names. The fusion and the synchro. Okay, so yeah. So the last three cards in my deck. So pretty much when you look at my deck, you are committed to have 12 cards that has to be hand trapped. So I only had 3 spaces to work with, which I put Floodgates to improve my win rate going first against pretty much everything. I side this almost against all the decks going first. I don't even remember a deck that I don't side this out going first from the meta decks right now. I side against all of them. Those are really, really good. Really good. It's really difficult to lose if you open one of them. I managed to lose in the final. Open Herald, Dragoon, and Anti-Spell. This was the first time ever that I lost with that board against Dino. That usually is FTK. I lost to a really, really specific hand. Yeah, was really unlucky on that. He had hard draw Contatos, Gamma 6 card, and hard draw Miscellaneous and Babe. So yeah, that was really intense. But usually, most of the time, 98% of the time, that setup would be enough against not only Dino, but pretty much everything. It's really difficult to lose in that aspect. Against Dragon Link, this people think this is bad. It is not. Um, this alone, by itself, negate 2 cards, negate Boot and negate Romulus, so they are useless. So 2 cards that they always use are useless, and on top of that, they have a lot of spells. They do have a lot of spells. Like at least 1/3 of those that deck is spells usually, and like not it's not like a random card. It's like World Legacy, right? Like the best extended Chaos Space. So really impactful card, and people usually side against me. Spell Trap removal, usually in form of Hap's Feather and Lightning Storm. So they add spells to the deck. So that's why I chose Floodgates that were immune to those cards. So they're really good right now. Imperial Ward is like, of course, absurd. It's better than Active Spell for obvious reasons. Yeah, really good cards and can easily carry you. Those type of cards can't exist in my opinion. This is a whole other discussion. But we have so many bigger issues right now than Floodgates that I don't have the willpower to complain about them right now. But yeah. So extra deck, 2 fiber is really important because I do play Celine. So I can have 2 pushes, one push into Dragoon plays and second push for Celine plays. This scenario happens a lot, extremely common scenario. I have Celine plays because of Valor. Herald should be banned. Like if they don't want to ban Link Cross, which okay, let's don't ban Link Cross because it's COVID or whatever. They should have banned this one. Like ban this card will make Link Cross way worse. This card is the reason that hand traps are not as impactful as they should be against combo decks. This is the reason hand traps shouldn't make combo decks not as strong, and they are as strong they are right now because they are resilient to hand traps, and they are resilient to hand traps because of Herald. So yeah, I think the card should be banned, but this is pretty much a win condition in my deck. So the Herald, my field is usually Dragoon, Herald, plus hard draw interactions, but this is a one card combo. Like Contract alone is Herald, Dragoon. So I have 4 other cards to be something. And I think this is a lot for one card because it's not like one card, 2 interactions. It's one card, Herald, Dragoon. It's not like 2 random negations. They are really strong negations. Herald's a really good negation because of the macrocosmos effect, and Dragoon is Dragoon. So it's not 2 random negations. These are really 2 really strong negations. Marshall, Chaos Rule I talk about. Chaos Rule is a lot of interactions. It can bring itself from grave. Can find a lot of cards. Game 1, Game 2, you get more cards to find. Crow, Phantasme, even Gamma. Like, again, finding cards is important. And you can mill Eldlich cards too. Crazy card, I love this card. This is how good Yu-Gi-Oh cards should be made, by the way. Like, cards should get cards, destroy cards. When you start making cards that special summon cards, negate cards, this is where shit get out of control. Yu-Gi-Oh should be more focused, in my opinion. I know I'm going like sideways here, but should more focus on destroying cards, getting cards, shit like that. Negations and the special sums should be more difficult to make. So Link Cross, a Link Spider is nice because it's the way to play around the bureau. You get the token, make Link Spider, an extender, you go to Anaconda, and also you can send those cards, Conquistador and Vaquero. Link Oribo, really good in this deck, super important, 100% necessary. Blocker is really interesting in this deck because it can extend some plays going first, with especially land hands where you can get Lord and you can make barricade blocker and bring Lord back and sand. So you set up your Eldlich play better, so it's nice. Also, it can get land back, contract back, and sector launch back from grave, which again, cards are really important. Doesn't matter if I get a contract with no cards. Like, I already used Lemon. There is nothing to do with this contract. It is important. Getting this extra card, will be 1 discard from Dragoon, which means I'm not discarding something else, and this something else might be and probably is something that I can interact with. So, really important extra card. Access code, really one of the win conditions of this deck. This deck, what I like it has a lot of different win conditions. We can win with Dragoon, we can win with Chaos Ruler being really strong, like being a strong monster that can bring itself. Access code is another win condition. Fruceline, you can win by playing as Eldlich. Another thing that I really enjoy about this deck, the games doesn't feel the same. Sometimes you play like Eldlich, sometimes you play like combo, like you draw like crazy hands with a lot of special summons. Sometimes you play like control, like you go Red Edge Fusion, Conquistador, Ogre, Veiley. So you play like a control stun deck. So it is a nice, like let's put like that, like a nice deck to play with because the games are not super repetitive. And that's cool. And you have a lot of win conditions. Another win condition that you have is BLS. I love this card. This card is also a hard counter to Buster Blade. The combo is really easy for me to put any free monsters on the board, and you attack the Synchro and banish the fusion. So it's really strong. I usually destroy Buster Blade combos with that. Celine is absurd in this deck, not only for the obvious Talker combo, but it can also reborn Dragoon because for some reason it is a spellcaster. So yeah, that happens sometimes. You don't get the pop effect, but you get the negation effect and the protection effect. So it's still a strong card. And it is funny because sometimes people have Nibiru and you go for Celine, and you go Celine effect, and they thought, okay, I will wait for the access code for Nibiru, and then you randomly bring a Dragoon because they don't realize it's a spellcaster, and you bring Dragoon and make access code with something else, like Celine is another summon, and then if they Nibiru, you negate. So yeah, this card is dumb, and I really like it. I wish it's banned. And yeah, you need the Striker Dragon. So that's it. That's the profile. It's a long one, but there's a lot of things to explain. I hope you guys enjoy. I will make my top 8 matchup commentary next. And subscribe to the channel if you're not from Brazil. Many players from Brazil uh, are already subscribed on the channel, but now I'm making some content also in English. I will try to make a little bit of each. And let me know what you guys think. I really want to know what the other countries uh, are finding about this. Like, this is a really competitive mindset channel. Like, this is how I play. I've been playing competitive for like 15 years. I travel, especially the last. Really start traveling in the past 3 years, uh, and I got really good results by playing competitive. And I've been doing videos about this theme in Portuguese for years, but now I'm a little more confident in my English that I know it's not perfect, but I think it's at least understandable. And since this is kind of complex subject, I wasn't super comfortable of trying to put my thoughts in English, but now I think I am. So I really want the feedback to see if you guys enjoy the way I explain, if it was understandable. And yeah, that's it. I hope you guys like it, and see you later.